What up, world? My name is Emskee, a part of the good people.
What's going on? My name is Saint, represent the good people.
We're going back, let's say, 84. Just take it all the way back. This is still in the age of not modern technology, and you're actually physically going out to parties, taping stuff off the radio. So that's where I first caught the bug. Hip hop. That's part of hip hop culture. Taping cassettes, all that kind of stuff. For those of you who know what cassettes are, yeah, man. But that's where it started, and then all of a sudden, it just over the years, it just spiraled out into different avenues. Because a lot of people only know me as a DJ, and some only know me as an MC. But I do both. I'm also a co-producer. I've never really produced myself because I've never really had the equipment, but I do a lot of things, man, and I just think it's all within that hip hop culture element, circle thing that we know and love.
In the beginning, one of my big influences was probably Third Base. That was a big group for me. Early Rock Chem, De La, and that's when I realized it was something I really liked, and realized something I wanted to even do eventually. From there, I was going to start to write rhymes and things like that. So
it probably hit around 1991. When I had come back from college, I was, still at the crib with my parents and, just trying to find myself a little bit when I got back from North Carolina. And I started doing promos with Nick Wiz, who many know as a producer for The Dwellers. I actually started out with him when he first got his first equipment. And from that, we used to just record all these promos and I was doing demos at the time too, but we used to record promos. For anybody who remembers radio back in the early 90s, this is before everything was programmed and controlled. You could actually make a promo, mail it in, and there was a chance that someone at the station would open it up, play it, and be like, oh, we can play this on the radio. And a lot of our promos got played. Wendy Williams, Kid Capri, Stretch Armstrong, Awesome 2. Everybody who was popular in the know had an Emskee promo. And to answer your question directly, Wendy Williams hit me up. And she was like, oh, I love your promos. Cool. Went up to the station to meet her. This is the abbreviated story because it's a long story, but I'm telling you the short story. And went up to the station, met her, and we just became cool. She was mad cool. And then we dated for like a year and a half. And from that, it was just like, I've never been a starstruck person, but the early 90s was so critical for a lot of connections that I could have made, but I was kind of just hanging out on the scene, hanging with her. I fostered a really awesome relationship with Cool DJ Red Alert. Even out of the whole Wendy Williams thing, like another avenue is sent a promo to Kid Capri. He called me up, invited me up to WBLS when he used to spin on BLS in like 92. And even back then, I brought Nick Wiz with me, who had another name there, and I won't even blast him off like that. But I brought him up to BLS to hang out, to watch Kid Capri spin, and eventually I went on to went to Kid Capri's house and got to see his crib with all the tape decks, and it's just that those were major experiences for me in the early 90s. There were others, but just to answer your question, that kind of stuck out at me.
my partner at the time, who was also my cousin, Anti, I remember he went out, he got the MPC, and I wanted to get something a little bit different, so I went out and got the ASR. So ASR X was my first piece of equipment that I had used. Still sample based to this day. It's a little bit different where now I'll play things on top of samples, and occasionally I will play out some things, but what I do is if I'm going to play something, I want it to sound almost sampled. I don't like to have things sound too electronic. I like things to have a little more of an organic sound to it.
We'll take back to 86 when I was in college. I had one auto belt drive turntable. I don't even know what the brand of it was. And the other one was some big black kind of semi-digital. It had like a digital readout for the speed. They were two totally different turntables, but I was so happy to have them. And I guess mixing on those types of turntables back in the day, because everybody knows you hop on nowadays everything's digital, so you have the quartz lock and everything locks right in. But when you learn to mix on equipment that's mismatched and kind of raggedy or whatever, it kind of makes you a better artist, a better DJ, because you learn how to mix live records and compensate for little things that go wrong with each turntable. So I would say 86 when I was in college, the turntables I got were cool.
We really weren't even, it didn't matter about getting heard. It kind of started with like ciphers in Long Island and Queens and things like that we were doing. We just started to make beats, things like that. When I really started to take it serious is when I got out of school for audio. I was an engineer, and the label at the time that I was really feeling was Seven Heads. So I reached out to them to see if they needed an audio engineer for anything, and at the time they actually were looking for somebody who could then take their DAT files and put it onto the computer. So I went in there. I kind of had different motives. I knew once I got in there, I was going to try and start to work on some music and slip them some music, because that was a label at the time that I really wanted to be on, and that's how I got my start. Made this remix for Unspoken Heard while I was there. That got put on an album. While I was there, then I got asked to do a remix for J Live and Wordsworth. I did that. Then got to work with artists like Elder Sensei, and started from there. So then, which led to my first solo album, Grown Folk Music.
I really started getting serious about it in the early 90s, like I said, when I got back from college. In college, it was just like, hung out at the radio station, did a couple of shows in college, ran with a couple of, local crews down there. But in 91, when I got back, when I got with Nick, actually, we were making those promos and demos. And when I started making my demos, that's when I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go after this. I actually had a chance to sign with Polygram. This is back in like 92, I believe. But I didn't take the deal because at the time, Black Sheep was priority on the label. Black Sheep and X-Clan, I think. And they were actually telling me, like, listen, if you take this, this is kind of cool because, A&Rs never really gave you advice. They kind of look for the suckers to take advantage of. But I had this dude, we had a really good dude. I can't remember what his name was, but he said, look, we want to sign you, but Black Sheep and X-Clan are a priority, and there's a possibility that you might sign but get shelved, and you might not come out for a long time. And I found that pretty cool because, he could have just steered me wrong, like, oh, yeah, let's sign on the dotted line. And I just didn't take the deal, and, I never really got another. I mean, we went to Wild Pitch. Anybody who remembers Stu Fine from Wild Pitch? We went to Stu's office and had a meeting. We went to Idler's Records, which was a division of Warlock. I had a couple of situations where I could have gotten signed, and Polygram was like the only one that stuck.
They're always supportive. To be honest, I wasn't a very good high school student. College didn't go too well for me either, to be honest. I went to college for cooking, culinary arts. So after that didn't really work out. When I went to school for audio engineering, seeing that I was able to go and do something with a record label, they were pretty pleased with that. At first, they didn't really understand there really wasn't a lot of money in it at first. It was more like internship type thing. But I, being young, I didn't care. It was like heaven to me to be, in the situation I was in, even though I was like making, next to nothing. So,
my parents have always been straight. I'm not even gonna say straight-laced, but they're very strict in their beliefs. As a black man in America, they're like, listen, go to school, get your education, grow up, get a job, whatever. But I was like a different breed, man. I was always into my music. I always took it very seriously, and I kind of had an estranged relationship with my parents over the years, and it's only recently gotten better. And I would say that's only because my son was born, because I really believe if my son wasn't born, we wouldn't really have this relationship that we have right now. But my mother, she understands, she halfway gets it. My dad is just like, so when you gonna start working? you know. And it's like I've always had my hustles. I'm not against. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against working, but I always look at the whole gridlock of actually going out and going to a place where you go every day. Someone is actually giving you things to do, and that's basically your lane. That's as far as it goes. And my mind is just, it's beyond parameters. So it's like I just felt like I had to kind of follow this road, and it has not been easy. You know, shouts to all the significant others, girlfriends, whoever you are that you know, if you live with an artist, if you support an artist and they're your mate, I know it's got to be hard. Because shout to my wife, because my wife has put up with a lot of my stuff, but she sees the progress, she sees things happening, she sees the talent, and you know, she's definitely been on board with, you know, my chosen career path. With my parents, they're still kind of on the outside of the fence. It's cool.
The biggest challenge actually is to get people to listen, get down with our music over here in the States. It's really been a challenge. We get a lot of great feedback. Really had no issues in putting out music overseas. We always get a lot of love over there. It's just, but I mean, especially living in New York, you're like one in a million, you know, in a sea of other artists. So everybody's trying to put their stuff out. So to try to get heard out here, I mean, we're almost at a point now where we don't even care if we're getting heard out here, to be honest. But for a good time, you know, 4 or 5 years of trying to push to get stuff heard out here, you know, was maybe a little bit frustrating. So that was something.
I was a very shy person, especially in high school, and I didn't really talk much. I'll even go so far to say I was a nerd in high school. Didn't really have a lot of friends, and actually, to tell you the truth, that's why music kind of became instilled in me, because it was the only thing that I felt like that didn't hate me. I don't know if that makes sense, but music is just, it's just been my best friend, man. You know what I'm saying? I've just kind of followed that path of trying to make it work for me. And I feel like once I left college and I started working with Nick, and then, you know, I did a couple of shows around the Jersey, New York area, it was just like I just felt a new confidence start to come in, like, you know what? This is who I am. Because a lot of times, you know, people don't know who they are, and you know, you may not know who you are for a lifetime, but there are certain instances in your life where you take certain situations, you're like, yo, I learned from this, and I'm going to do this, and you push yourself forward to make something happen for yourself, and I think that's what happened to me.
I basically got to work with almost all the artists that I grew up loving, or even got to speak to, you know. Going back again to third base, you know, I've had to, you know, MC Search reach out to me and tell, you know, how much you like the Good People. To hear something like that, you know, this is incredible. You know, artists like J Live, Mr. Man of the Bush Babies, Elder Sensei, artists like that. Zimbabwe Legit, Cadence of Raw Produce, who I ended up becoming great friends with. I mean, Cadence of Raw Produce, rest in peace, we became great friends. I remember, you know, being out in Long Island mowing my lawn, you know, as a kid, you know, with the headphones listening to Raw Produce, and now later on here, we're making tracks together, so it's amazing. He was like, I always, you know, because I was always into the underground scene, so these MCs were my heroes. It wasn't, you know, the commercial artists. So I basically got to like really work with my idols. So that's been amazing.
I was a DJ on the world's longest running hip hop show, J Smooth's Underground Railroad, right here in New York, WBAI 99.5. I did that for 11 years. Actually followed in some huge footsteps. DJ Spinner, DJ AV used to do the show all the time up until I guess 1999 is when me and my man Monk One took over. And we were the residents there, you know, for 11 years. And that actually opened me up to a lot of, you know, listeners in New York. We got to play whatever we wanted. And even from the Underground Railroad spawned another show called the Rare Radio Show, which we also did for 11 years sporadically. And that was basically, we just took, like, a lot of people play disco now, but we got 5 hours of commercial free time on a New York radio station, a strong frequency where we could play whatever we wanted. And that also opened me up as a person as well, because it's like, here I am, I have the opportunity in New York to play on a strong frequency radio station in the middle of the dial, not being told what to play. And I got a lot of respect from that over the years, actually. So doing a hip hop show and also doing a disco show, and then gigs spawning from that. So it was a really very important and fun time in my life, starting around 99, DJing wise in the city.
I want people, well, for one, to really look at the beats and look into it and see what really goes into it. And what I do, like Emskee, like he'll tell me, sometimes like when he listens to beats that I do, later on he'll go back and listen again. He's like, and realize like there was some noises or some sounds in there that he didn't hear before. I try to do a lot of things in there, real intricate. I take days on my beats usually. I put a lot into it. So, just make sure if you're checking out my stuff, try to check out the complexity of it. And as far as the rhyming, that, we always did what we wanted to do. If we never, get to the point where, we're not heard by as many people as we want to be heard by, we still did it how we wanted to do it, and by saying the rhymes and stuff that we wanted to say. So
I'm a giving person, but I'm also I can be very standoffish, because there are a lot of people in the business who don't deserve love, don't deserve attention, if you will. Like, you hear this thing in hip hop, yo, spread love, but it's not all love. You know what I'm saying? People are always coming with the ulterior motives, ulterior angles, and like I'm kind of guarded, but at the same time, through the good people with my man the Saint, I like to make music that's going to make people think and make people feel good. I think there are enough MCs out there that scare the hell out of you. Wordplay is great, but I think adding a little bit of intelligence and awareness to your wordplay is always very important, because I want my son, because I have a son, Boston, who's 2 years old now, and I want him to experience everything, but at the same time, when he grows up and he's actually able to listen to the music that I've made, I want him to be, number one, proud of his dad. Number two, I want him to be able to listen to my stuff maybe 15 years from now, and be able to get stuff from it that I wrote, back in 2000, whatever, you know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, I just really believe in making music and spinning music that's appealing to all ages, and not just get frozen in a specific box of, okay, he does this for this demographic of people, and that's it. I want my music to go beyond, and me and Saint we've kept within the kind of golden age hip hop sound, but it's not a throwback. It's kind of like futuristic throwback. I don't know if it makes sense. If anybody's ever heard The Good People, if you haven't, go to The Good People, I think thegoodpeople.bandcamp.com, and check out all our stuff over there. But it's really good music, man. And I'm really proud of what we put together over the years. And